Hi, welcome to Peace Donkeys. Today I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet. This is using micro paracord, and I've got a large bead here. This is a Shrek bead. It's really nice. So this is adjustable so that you can fit it on your wrist and then just close it up like that, and that stays on your wrist. So I'll go ahead and show you how I made this bracelet. Okay, so there's all sorts of beads that you can use. I'm using this bead. This is a Shrek bead. I think he's really cute. These beads here are obviously just a little bit bigger that make it easier to use. There's all sorts of really nice beads you can get. This is like a soldier bead, a helmet bead, and then you've got these little beads you can use. If you're going to use these little beads, you'll have to actually put your main cord through the middle. Then once you get to the bead with your braid, you'd have to stop and cut your cord and then start again on the other side, because it's just the hole's just simply not big enough to go through. But anyway, there's lots of different lovely beads around that you can get to make really nice bracelets. I'm using 440 paracord for this one, just because my bead won't fit 550 paracord through it, plus the 2 strands of the micro cord. So this is 2mm micro cord that I'm using to do the braid over the top of the cord. So you'll need enough cord to go around your wrist, and a little bit extra for the knots that you're going to tie on the end. So to start off, you want to cut off the ends of your main cord, and you want to cut them on an angle, because if you cut them right across sideways, they're definitely not going to fit through a lot of beads. So I'm going to cut it at quite an angle so that it's quite pointy, and it makes it a little bit easier to get it through. So just cut that off on a big angle and melt with your lighter. And you don't want to melt it too much, or you'll get a big bead on the end that won't fit through either. So you really need to kind of squash that down before it gets too big. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So you go ahead and do that with all the ends on both your cords, so your big cord and your small cord, so that when it comes time to getting it through your bead, it just helps you a lot with that. And you can even melt a little bit down here, not too much, just a little bit, just so that helps to make that bit of cord a little bit stiff as well. Okay, so you can see that it's like a shoelace end if you just melt that just a little bit, so that it makes it really nice and stiff, so you can put it through the bead a bit easier as well. Okay, so at the halfway point of my cord, I want to have a little loop there that will bring the cord back through, and a knot. So to tie the knot, I'm just going to do one of these knots where you tie the knot, and then you put your other piece of cord through the middle of the knot. Oops. Okay, I might do this so it's easier to see. Bring the cord over the top of the knot part there. Then you bring the end of the cord up through the loop and back through that. See that hole in the middle there? The cord's going to go back through that hole there. Oops. It needs to stay over the top. Okay. So this is your double knot, and with this knot you can make it bigger or smaller, and you can slide it up or down. So once you've got your knot, you need to make enough room there so that you can put your other cord through there. So at the halfway point of your contrast colour, or whatever colour you want to use, it's going to go right up through the middle of that knot, and it's going to stay there. Okay, so you just need to hold on to it and tighten up your black cords. Okay, and I'm going to slide those black cords up as far as I possibly can, because that's what's going to tighten and loosen your bracelet when you want to get it on and off your wrist. So it needs to be really, really close to the end, as close as you can possibly get it. And you can tighten up each of those strands. Now before you start, you just want to get a spare little piece of cord that you can put through there, because sometimes as you're braiding with your purple cord, that loop sometimes slides down and you'll lose it. So if you put a bit of cord through there, just tie a knot in there so it can't slip away. You can actually pull that down as far as you want to, just there, and again tighten up that other knot as much as you can. Okay, so to start this bracelet, you're going to take your left purple strand, you just hold that strand there for a second. You're going to bring it under your two black cords, and then you're going to put the end back down through that cord where you started. Okay, so you're just going to make a loop there to get started. Okay, so once you've made that loop, you're going to bring your other strand up through that loop. Okay. And now your black cords are going to come up through that loop there. Okay, so essentially your purple cord is wrapped around the back of those cords. Now you need to make sure that the long part of your strand is on the top and the short part is up there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to tighten up your bottom loop. Okay, and the reason you need to make sure that this strand is on the right is because you don't want it to be on the over there, because you need this part to come up there. Okay, now when you tighten this up, you want to be careful that loop is straight. See, if it's not straight, you'll end up with a bit of a loop there that you don't want. So you just make sure you pull that loop through so it's nice and straight. Okay, so for your very first loop at the bottom, you want that to be really, really tight. The rest of the braid is just going to be firm. It's not going to be super tight like that one. You want that really tight to hold it in place, and you slide it down as far as you can. Okay, and then you can just tighten that, take a little bit of a slack out of that loop, not too much. So the loop that you just pulled tight, is going to go up through that loop, or through the left hand side of it. Okay, and now your black strands are going to come up through that loop. Okay, and now you're going to pull tight the bottom loop onto that. But again, you want to make sure that this loop here doesn't kind of get stuck. You need to make sure that you pull that tight as you're tightening up the bottom one. Okay, because you want that strand to be across the front. Okay, you can slide it down. So the loop that you tightened up then goes up and becomes the next loop. So it goes up under that loop there. Okay. And then your black strands go up through that loop. Okay. And now you're going to tighten up the bottom loop. But again, you need to make sure that that's pulled tight and that you don't end up with a loop there that gets tightened. Okay, pull that through. And then tighten up your bottom loop, nice and firm, but not super tight. Okay. And then the loop that you just tightened up goes up through the other loop. You can take a bit of the slack out of that other loop. And then you'll put your black strands up through that loop that you just made. And then you'll tighten up the bottom loop. Okay. And then the loop, that strand that you just tightened up, then goes up and starts and forms the next loop. Okay, and then you'll put your black cords up through that loop there. Okay. Make sure you don't get a loop stuck there, and then you'll tighten up the bottom loop over the top of that. And again, just make sure that strand comes across the front of your two black strands. I'll just take a bit of the slack out of that, not too much. Okay, so you've made the bottom loop firm, and then it's going to go up and start the next loop. Okay, and your black strands are going to go up through that loop you just made. Okay, and then you'll tighten up the bottom loop. Again, just make sure that this strand comes across the front of the black loops. So once you've tightened that strand, it's going to go up and create the next loop. Okay, and then you'll put your black strands through that loop. Okay, and then you'll tighten up the bottom loop. Okay, make sure that strand pulls through there. Okay, once you've tightened up your bottom loop, it goes up and makes the next loop. Okay, I'll just take a bit of the slack out of the bottom loop. Okay, so you've got your next loop there. Black strands come up through there, and you tighten up your bottom strand. Okay, so I'm ready to put my bead on. So what I'm going to do, instead of pulling that loop down, I'm actually going to pull that loop back out so that the strand is facing upwards. Okay, so I've only got one down facing strand instead of two. Okay, so I'm ready to put my bead on. This bead is a bit scratchy and there's not a lot of room in there for all the strands, so this is quite a struggle, this one. Okay, I've got the second cord through. Okay, so Shrek is being a little bit difficult, so I'm just going to get my tweezers and pull that strand through. Okay, so I've got one strand through, stiff strand there, so we'll see how we go. Crochet hook to see if I can help push that through to the other side. Okay, so after a bit of perseverance with the crochet hook, I can't get the crochet hook out. Oh, there we go. Okay, so like I said, this, if you're going to use a bead like this, you'll have to have a lot of patience to get it through. But now we've got it through, I'm going to slide the bead down as much as we can. So that he's sitting there nicely. Pull both your cords through. Okay, so now he's down there. We just start all over again. So keep your right strand out of the way. Just hold your left strand a little bit. Bring it under. Bring the end back down through there. Oops. Tighten that up. And then you're ready just to start again. So your right strand, it's going to make a loop and go up through there. Okay, and then you'll tighten up your bottom strand. When your black strands come up through that loop, I'll just take some of the slack out of that loop. Okay, tighten up this one around his crown. Okay, so then that strand, that loop that you just pulled tight, it's going to go back up through that loop there. Tighten up this other one and put your black strands up through the loop just like you did before. So you're just really restarting again over the other side of your bead. So the strand on the bottom is going to go up through there again. Okay, black cords go through that loop and you'll tighten up the bottom strand and make sure that you pull the slack out of that loop while you're going. Okay, so the bottom loop that you tightened up will go up through there, and you'll just keep on continuing with that pattern until you've got enough braid and you're ready to finish off. So I'll come back when we're ready to tie the knot on the end and show you how to finish off. Okay, so now I've got to the end of where I want to finish my bracelet. So I'm just going to get a thread and attach it to the end of my cord. And I'm just going to go down the back through a couple of strands. Pull it through. And then I'll just cut that off there and melt it there. And then the same on this side, you just attach a fid to the end, bring it through, and then cut it and melt it where you want to finish. So I want that fairly close. lighter. Not that there. Just going to move that over a little bit. I'm going to see if I can just poke that little bead of melted paracord underneath the next stitch. Okay. There we go. We've got that under there. So as you can see, that you can't see that bead anymore. So just do the same with the other strand. Okay. So for the last bit, you'll take out that piece of cord that you put through there, and you'll get a fib to go on one of your black cords. And that'll go through both of those little loops there that you made. Okay, take that off. And the same on the other side. Put that also through those loops. Okay, so that's because that's really firm, that'll help hold that on your wrist nice and firm. Okay, so tie a knot through one of the strands. Okay, then the other strand goes through the middle of that knot. It's going to come up over the top of the knot, and it's going to go up through the middle of these two strands. Okay. Oops. That loop's supposed to come over the top of that knot, and then it'll go back through the hole in the center. Okay, and so that gives you your little crisscross. Okay, so I want to move my knot, I want to slide it up towards the end because I needed a fair bit of room for my wrist. Okay, so you tighten up that knot as tight as you can get it, and you'll cut off these strands and melt those on the end. So if you melt that and you don't squash it down, it creates a little bead of paracord melt. And because that's quite large, and if you leave it alone and you don't touch it before it dries, it'll be nice and smooth, and it's almost impossible for that to come undone through the knot. And then you just do the same with the other side. Okay, so that's the end of your knot at the end of your bracelet, and then you can just slide it on, and that there, because that's really tight, that will stay in place, and then that's how your bracelet looks once it's finished.